I promised Shopsmith I'd do a video on converting the DC3300, our old dust collection system, into the new DC6000. So we're going to do that today. I'm going to walk you step by step on how to do that upgrade. So here's the box that the upgrade came in. Pretty good size. Almost, what, 2 foot square. Packaged really, really nice. Got all this protective stuff in it here. Just remove some of that. Show you what we have in here. More packing. Looks like a owner's manual and assembly manual. We're certainly going to need that. Plastic bag with I don't know what's in it here yet. And this is interesting too. It's coming loose, whatever it is. Some kind of gasket on there. We'll discover what that is here in a little bit. And the main unit here. Oh, it's heavy. Can you see that? That's a new motor and motor housing. Get that styrofoam off of there. Hang on. There it is. Whew. What's going to be difficult is it's awkward because it is real heavy. So the first part of this is disassembly. So let me get the hose off of here. Set that aside. I got to get the wand out of here. And the instructions say to remove the hood and the dust and the bag itself. Get the cord out of the way. We're going to have to disconnect that here in a minute. You notice I'm outside here because this is a dusty mess. Take it away from the opening of the garage here, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Look at this. So you can see that's a, whoa, dusty, dusty mess. Look at that. Of course, the dust collector will always have a layer of dust on the inside of the bag itself. And that's actually good. It helps with the efficiency. But you can see all this mess here. You can push that right down into the bag. I'm assuming you want to get this cleaned off as much as you can. So that's what I'm trying to do here. Loosen that steel band. Put the band aside. So I could probably spend all day long trying to brush that off. Instead, we'll blow it off. Here we go. So I think we got that all blown out pretty good. And this is actually the unit we're changing out. This whole unit comes out, the new unit goes in. So we'll take her back into the shop, the cold and the rain and the wind, and finish our disassembly. So our next job is to remove these 4 screws that hold what is called the support bracket. I'll do that now. I want to hang on to those screws. Once those screws are loose, we're supposed to be able to remove the support bracket. That's it. Our next step is to remove our cover plate. We'll do that. And that will give us access to the 4 screws that hold the 3-way inlet. Once that cover plate's off, you got to look deep down in here and find the 4 screws that hold the 3-way inlet. See how deep they are in there? And they're in there snug, but once you get them all loosened up, like I have here, this thing should basically come right off. It looks like the next step is to remove this cable clip. Another Phillips screw. It says to set this aside. We're obviously going to use it again. And then, underneath this motor grill, they call this, there's a couple Phillips screws I have to loosen there too. Let's see if we can. Now I'm going to just unclip the cable that attaches to the on-off switch. So you look closely on your grill. Let me see if I can get a little closer here. Whoops. There's a big opening right here. We're going to push this cable through that once I lift the motor up. So I understand it. This then, since everything's disconnected, should lift right up. You say that's the only way you're going to be able to. Oh, look at that, it does. Lifts right out. Then we'll feed the cable and cable clip. Guess what? We're disassembled. So we're not quite disassembled. You do have to remove this old seal and replace it with a new one. And this thing on here, pretty good, but it looks like it's peeling right off. You're going to want to make sure you clean this off so the new seal sticks on. It's a peel and stick type setup. I think I'm just going to use a chisel here and get off any of the remaining adhesive or residue from that last seal. Now I'm just going to clean her down real good with some mineral spirits. Oh yeah, look at that. That looks good. So the new seal is in a bag included in the packaging. In fact, you got the new seal. There is actually a new cable clip, another self-tapping screw, even a new serial number. We'll get to that here in a little bit. Now, like I said, this is peel and stick. Peel that off. Put it right back where the old one was, carefully. It looks good. That's the motor housing for the old DC 3300. This is the new 6000. A little bit different shape, a little different engineering. In fact, on the DC 6000, it has this piece called a union coupler. It's a 4-inch inlet is what it is. That slides on like so. So now we're going to take this new motor fan and housing. That's your open end. It's going to be facing down. Set this on the edge. We want both these wires to go through, again, that opening. Get the main one in there first. We have a new capacitor wire on a DC 6000. Once I get those slid in there, all of this should line up, drop right down in. Instructions say to put those 2 screws back in, and they're going to be tough. They're self-tapping. We get them both, and it says to make sure they're secure. Next step, to put our support bracket right over the inlet and replace those 4 screws that we took out earlier. Goes right in. Nice. So far, this has been pretty easy. Now we're going to replace our three-way inlet. I've got the screws poking through the back side, as you can see. We'll get those lined up somewhere. There we go. Screw it back on. I got my foot holding the dust collector. And of course, we put our plate back on. They gave us a new cable clip that's going to hold both the main cable and the capacitor cable. It says to feed the capacitor cable through the hole of one of the legs. This leg here goes right in. That's easy. So here's our capacitor. Can you see the wires up here? It says any one of these connectors into any one of these terminals. The important thing is make sure they're plugged all the way in and secure. You feel it kind of snap. Now here's my hood. Might be time for a new one. It's kind of dirty, or I should just clean it. Grab your flathead screwdriver and we'll snug her down. And since we basically have a brand new dust collector, that calls for a brand new bag. I'd had that one for a while. To get it situated, just tighten our band down. So I've got everything hooked up. We're plugged in. Got my remote. Here's our test. Wow. Can you hear that? I'd have to say it's actually quieter than the DC 3300, which was very quiet. The DC 3300 had more of a whiny sound to it, but muted. This is even quieter. You can hear the airflow. Easy upgrade to make. There's actually one last final thing in the instructions to add, and that's a new date code label. This is my new date code label for my new DC 6000. It goes on where your old date code label was, but something I'd never noticed, and I've had this dust collector a long time. Take a look at the old label here. It was all put on upside down. What's up with that? Again, just peel this off. It says to put it right over the top of the old one. So I guess now it's truly officially a DC 6000. So overall, that was a very easy upgrade. I think the total time spent might have been 45 minutes. The instructions were very clear, very detailed. Not a lot to them because there's really not a whole lot to that upgrade. But I'm so far very impressed with the unit. I'm really amazed. I mean, we're talking going from a 0.5 horsepower motor to a 1.5 horsepower motor at how quiet it is. Where quiet is nice, it still boils down to how efficient is it. We're going to find out right now. I'm going to start out with one of the most mess-producing tools on any shop or in any shop. That's the joiner. In fact, take a look at this without the dust collector. Sure wouldn't take very long to be knee deep. Let's see how the dust collector takes care of it. Well, that's pretty impressive. Once I plugged that DC 6000 in it, I didn't see anything coming off of it. But let's do it on the table saw. So just like we did on the joiner, let's make a couple of cuts before we plug the dust collector in. Well, again, there's a lot of mess shooting out at you. So now we'll do it with the dust collector plugged in. Well, even ripping, it seems to be pretty doggone efficient. I did, to be honest with you, get a little bit of blowback here, but not near as much as on the old DC 3300. Wonder how she does on sanding. That's where you really get the mess. Let's try that. So I got fairly aggressive with a hunk of material there. I took off as much wood as I possibly could, as short or as quick as I could. No mess. So I had the bandsaw available. I thought I'd try it on the bandsaw too. Did some cross cutting, did a little curvy cut in there. You'll notice you're not getting anything out of it. That's pretty impressive. So is the DC 6000 upgrade worth it? Absolutely. It is a far better working dust collector than the previous DC 3300. Now I was working outside, yes. I can see how it's going to be really advantageous when you're working in a small space with all that extra airflow. It's going to keep your work area even cleaner yet. You think you'd like to upgrade? Get a hold of me, myoung@shopsmith.com. We'll get you one out as soon as possible. Until then, I'm Michael Young, and this is today's Shopsmith. See you next time.